Hello everyone and welcome back again to the 80s Movie Den. So today we're going to go over two more of my 1980s albums in my collection. This will be the second episode of my 1980s albums. In my first episode we talked about Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA and we talked about Michael Jackson's Thriller. And I've got two more albums here that I think that those of you that grew up in the 80s or are huge music fans, you will know these two artists very well, and they are household names, and these are two fantastic albums. So we'll get right into it. So this is Purple Rain from Prince. This is the movie soundtrack, and this isn't the original album that I played when I was a kid. That album is long gone. I'd like to thank my mom for all this music because growing up as a kid in the 80s, she was a huge music fan. And, even my movies, my love for movies comes from her as well. But she was a massive music fan. She had a really cool record collection, and she had a lot of 80s albums, and this was one of them. And fell in love with this album. Just a ton of awesome songs. When Doves Cry, Let's Go Crazy, Computer Blue, just the soundtrack, the song to the soundtrack, Purple Rain, which is an awesome song as well. He was an amazing artist, extremely talented, could play multiple instruments and play them very well. He had an incredible vocal range, the falsettos that he would hit, the screams, and he played a wide range of music. It was rock, he could play pop, blues, and I think it was said that he recorded around 39 albums in his career, which is just unheard of. It's insane. And there's a lot of material actually that wasn't released. He was born in 1958, and unfortunately he passed away in 2016 due to an overdose of fentanyl, which is absolutely terrible, at only 57. But I remember of all the Prince music, this was my first exposure to Prince music. Like I said, my mom had the album when I was growing up, and I was just blown away by the music. It was like nothing I'd ever heard before. He was such a character too. He was very diminutive, but he was a giant on stage and when he performed. He won multiple awards throughout his career. I believe he sold over somewhere around 100 million albums worldwide throughout his career. Purple Rain, this album in particular, sold 13 million copies in the US, and it was number one on the Billboard charts. I believe this album and the movie simultaneously were number one, which was kind of neat. He won 2 Grammy Awards for this film as well. What else can I tell you about him? Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2004. Some of the well-known songs on this album are obviously Let's Go Crazy, which starts off the album. When Doves Cry, which is a very well-known song. Computer Blue, Darling Nikki, Baby I'm a Star, Purple Rain, which is the title track, which is awesome as well. The movie. I never saw the movie growing up, and I only recently watched it, I think this year at some point. I think I watched it and enjoyed it. It was a good movie. Obviously, his acting wasn't as great, obviously, as his singing ability and his music, but he did a good job in the movie. It was a pretty interesting movie. All the songs were played in the film, and it was very entertaining. I suggest you check it out. It's one of those classic 80s movies that you got to check off your list for sure. But just an awesome album. I still listen to it. All the albums that I have, when I have time, I put them in and I listen to them. But this is just a great album. Just an awesome album. So that's Prince, Purple Rain. And then this guy here, just loved him growing up. It seemed as though his music was always on the radio. Phil Collins, this is No Jacket Required. This was his third solo release. Some of the songs on it, Sue Studio, One More Night, Don't Lose My Number, Take Me Home. Just awesome songs. Great album. It went to #1 in the US and stayed there for 7 weeks, but non-consecutive. And it was in the UK, it was #1 for 5 consecutive weeks. Sold 12 million copies in the US and 25 million copies worldwide. Keep in mind, Phil Collins was in a band called Genesis. That's where he got his major break. He was a drummer and then later became a lead singer in the band Genesis. Another very famous artist in that band went on to have an amazing solo career as well. If you could guess who it is. Peter Gabriel. Yeah, Peter Gabriel was an awesome solo artist as well, who released a number of great hits and albums in the 80s. But Phil Collins, there's this funny meme that's always on social media where if you were growing up in the 80s and you were listening to the radio in your car or wherever, it seemed as though every 4th song on the radio was a Phil Collins song. I don't know if that's an actual statistic that was taken, if it's true or not, or if it's just a joke. But I can see it to be true because it seemed like he was on the radio all the time. And I believe between Genesis and his solo career, he had somewhere around 40 singles. So that's a lot of music from one artist. Yeah, I can't remember what the actual statistic was, but something about having more top 40 singles than any other artist, basically, in the 80s. So I guess, it could be true that he was on the radio as much as he was. But again, this is an awesome album. My favorite song on this album is Don't Lose My Number. Loved that as a kid. This is one album that I didn't have and that I didn't play growing up. But I believe I had the cassette tape. Yeah, Phil Collins. He was born in 51 and he's recently had some health issues. He's been struggling. Hopefully he can recover. I'm not sure if he tours anymore, if he performs or not. But yeah, Phil Collins, No Jacket Required. Awesome album. So again, it seems like the 80s pop culture and music, movies, all that kind of stuff, put out some amazing, talented artists, and these two are no different. There are more 80s albums that I have that I want to talk about in the future. You could have a channel just on 80s music alone. It's incredible, the amount of stuff that came out in the 80s. So very fortunate to be a part of that decade. I've said it before and I'll say it again. So yeah, that'll do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're new to the channel, if you're here for the first time, thanks for showing up and checking it out. This is the kind of content you'll see. This is a movie-based channel that focuses on movies, television shows, popular culture, memorabilia, and collectibles, primarily from the 1980s. But I also like movies and collectibles from other decades as well, so I will touch on that also. This has been the 80s Movie Den, and as always, we'll catch you on the next one.